Hey everybody, quick video, short video, quick short video. Uh, the cowling section is completely infilled and I've laid on the first application of spackle. We're just waiting for that to dry. I've got the cylinder heads drilled out for the plug wire, and where did that go? There it is. So we just want to drill it out partial, maybe about 1/8 of an inch or more, and then check the fit and make sure that the plug wire will sink in there far enough that it can be glued in and so forth. So the next step is to drill out the base of the ignition wiring, and that's just here behind the wire harness. This essentially this would be a tubing that goes around the circumference of the crankcase housing, and that is where the ignition wires are pulled from. So the holes that I'll be drilling will be just behind that, right here on top of the block at each position. So just a short run of wire to make it appear as if it's coming from the harness to the cylinder head. And then once that's done, I'll be painting this with primer, and when that's dry we'll mask off the face of the crankcase here, circular mask, and then paint the balance of the motor black, including the plug wires. I'll probably use black wire, but it doesn't matter now what color wire I use, they'll be getting painted. So, and once that is completed, probably have this dry and we'll be able to install the motor. I see I cut away the face of the bulkhead number 1. I had to cut this out because if we surface mount the motor here, it's just a little too thick to allow the fascia, the cowling face, to seal and completely and flatly glue to the face of the cowling body. So this was cut away to a diameter that would allow our motor to fit. Let's see, top center right there. So our motor can fit just inside of this. You can see that. I mean, I also had to cut away the backer sheet that went on and was inserted into the fascia, the cowling face. So that had to be cut away at the same spot. And now that's ready to go. So once the motor is inserted here, this will fit over it flush to the face of the cowling body. Before that's done, and after this is completely spackled and sanded smooth, the outside of the cowling body will be skinned, not with the cardstock, but I think I'm going to use the 1/64th material, the birch ply, because it's sandable. And I'll use the cardstock templates as templates, the cardstock provided for that wrap, and I'll use those as templates to cut out the birch ply. We'll get that installed on here, and it's flush exactly with this edge. And then once that's on there, then I can apply this. And then once this is on, more filler can be used to make the seam disappear, and then we can sand that. It doesn't necessarily have to be filled. In other words, it's okay if there's a line or a seam appearing there, because the actual cowling would have had seams on it, and that might be a seam that it would have. I don't think it had this one here, but it wouldn't kill me if it did, if my airplane did. That's not a showstopper at all. So we'll just see how that plays. But in the meantime, this is our motor. We've got it. We've got the cowling and the fascia hogged out so that it'll fit over the motor. And let's see. I think it goes like somewhere over here. Where is it? There's a little bit of a key. I think it's right there. At any rate, it fits over the motor and allows it to seat flush. So that completes the fabrication as far as anything. Nothing else needs to be cut away. It's all going to be finish work now, essentially. The skinning is, skinning. That's a bit of fabrication, but for the most part, the cowling is ready for final assembly and paint. The motor will be painted up, installed without the push rods. Once I get the fascia on, I'll be able to install the push rods, and they'll be pre-painted either black or silver and applied. So that takes care of that. Fuselage body, as you probably saw in the previous video, is pretty well prepped for paint. I'll be working on the interior of the fuselage, getting that all built up. Then we'll seal it off. We'll put a paper cover there, and then I'll paint primer over the fuselage, and then we'll take a look and see how kind of a job we did on the smoothing factor. Okay, so that's where the project sits right now. This is just a quick video. I wanted to show you some of the work that I did here to get this hogged out, to make it so that it could hold the engine that I made for it. A little bit of adaptation had to be done. I couldn't, it was too thick to surface mount, and if I'd made it skinnier, it just wouldn't look right. So this is essentially scale, and will fit inside of our cowling now, as it would not have before. I'm still trying to decide whether or not I'm going to cut this out and fit it over the fuselage nose or surface mount it, and I think what it'll depend on is how the skinning goes. If I get that skin on there nice, and then I'll have to put the lower wing on and then check to see how far the cutouts go on those skins. There are wing cutouts in that, and they'll have to fit where the leading edge is and provide enough room that they don't touch the leading edge, but also aren't so far out and extended away from it that they would look unnecessary. Why cut those out if they're not even close? So you see, that has to be looked at. It's kind of a fitting issue. So if the fitting issue works without cutting this away, then it won't be cut away. It'll be surface mounted. If the fitting issue is too much of a standoff, then I will cut it away and allow the cowling to fit over the nose to the depth that it needs to get that look right. Okay, and the final option, if it has to be pushed outward, then this has to stay on, and then a skin applied to the back of it to perform that standoff function. Right, so there's some adjustment there, but we won't know what that is until that wing is installed. So I'll get the skin on, we'll get it polished up, make this look real pretty, complete with the motor installed into it. And it'll be installed as a unit at the end of when we're in final assembly. Okay, we'll leave it off while we're installing the wing and tail and all that stuff. We'll get all that on, and the cowling will go on toward the end of that process. All right, thanks for watching. Have a great day.